On this episode of What's Going On with Shipping, the Port of Los Angeles wants more cargo. Seriously. I'm your host, Sal Mercaglan, and welcome to this episode of What's Going On with Shipping. If you're new to the channel, take a moment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you'll be alerted about new videos as they come out. Well, Gene Soroka, the executive director for the Port of Los Angeles, came out with his July numbers for how well the Port of Los Angeles is doing. And we're going to look at those numbers in a minute. But before we do that, his conclusion of what's going on in the Port of Los Angeles deserves a quick little bit of attention.
Thanks to the efforts of so many, the supply chain landscape in Southern California has greatly improved. At many other ports around the country, ships are waiting for space. Yet here, our terminals have capacity. So for cargo owners looking to rechart their course, come to Los Angeles. We're ready to help.
Come to Los Angeles. We're ready to help. Are you kidding me? Seriously, that's the report we're going to get from Gene Soroka, the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles, where LA had the biggest backlog for a year at the port. And his issue, he says in July, is, well, send your cargo this way. Are you kidding, Gene? I mean, how does he, in a straight face, say that without cracking up? All right, time out. We have got to take a minute and break this down and take a look at it. Let's go look at the report that he just filed about where Los Angeles is.
Philip, in short, July was another outstanding month here at the Port of Los Angeles.
Booming month.
935,000 20-foot equivalent units crossed our docks last month, outpacing our July 2019 record.
45,000 more containers this month than in last year's.
And it was 5% more than last July's strong showing. In fact, we've set records 5 out of 7 months so far this year.
Booming year for the Port of Los Angeles. 5 out of 7 months, record numbers, meaning that the Port of LA is on track for another record year. Now, we're maybe seeing August, September slow down, but right now, first half, definitely big year.
Let's take a look inside those July numbers. This data may change ever so slightly as we finish a cross-check on one vessel, but Damian Young assures me that we will update our website very soon with the final numbers.
They don't have the final numbers out yet.
Imports remain strong at 485,000 TEUs, a 3.5% increase year on year. It's also 8% higher than our 5-year July average. On the export side, we moved about 104,000 TEUs, a 13.5% increase compared to last year. While that's a big number, exports have been down now more than 3 years.
Why is the Port of LA exports down over the past 3 years? Well, they're not shipping out garbage. And when I say garbage, I mean garbage. The Port of LA's biggest export for a long time was recyclable materials that was heading over to Asia. They stopped doing that in 2019, I believe it was. That's the reason for the 3-year decline.
But we continue to work with the Commerce Department, our ag partners, and others to finally turn this market around. Moving to empties, they remain elevated at 346,000 TEUs,
quite elevated,
up about 5% versus last year. Once again, a high number of boxes repositioned back to Asia for the next round of American imports.
Which he makes sound very nice. I mean, it is being repositioned for the next round of American imports, but American exports suffer because we can't get them out.
So where are we now? After 7 months, we're very pleased to be in a dead heat with 2021, our best cargo year ever.
Okay, so dead heat with last year. Again, Port of LA, out of 370 ports around the world, got ranked the worst in terms of efficiency. Yet you're looking at a port that is bang on the same level they were last year, okay?
6.3 million TEUs last year at this point, 6.3 million TEUs right now at the close of period 7. Remarkable numbers 2 years running.
So let's go look at the data from the Port of LA and examine what's going on. Because again, you just had the July numbers right there. And so booming year coming in. But what's the situation on the ground in the terminals right now? So this is the chart put out by the Port of LA. This is today's chart. Import containers by dwell time for all ports of Los Angeles, for all Port of Los Angeles terminals. So they started doing this back on 24 October when they were at about 95,000 containers. And Gene is, let me be clear about Gene Soroka. I believe he is a genius of a guy. He knows shipping better than almost everybody. He would not have become the executive director of the Port of LA if he did not have the knowledge and and ability to do what he does. But Gene paints his port, which he should do, in a very positive way. And so one of the things that we talked about a lot on this channel was, man, 95,000 containers sitting, and they went into a full bore end of the year 2021 to get rid of those containers. And you see the chart drop. I mean, by the time you get into January of 2022, they have basically halved the amount of containers that were on scene. But since January, it has ticked back up. And it is only recently in July that we see it ticking back down again. And right now they're sitting at about 35% of where they were with the 95,000 containers. There's about 61,000 containers sitting on the dock. Now, he made the point about how many over 9-day containers were sitting there for road, that they're down. They are. What he didn't talk about was rail. And the rail issue is the big one. Look here how many containers are sitting here with over 9 days. 42%. It's only down 42% from where it was at the beginning of this. The 5 to 8 days are only down 17%. This is a big problem. Yes, the numbers are coming down again, which is great, but they're still pretty high, which means there's congestion in the terminals in LA. Go over to the empty containers, same thing. We saw them mirror this. They were at a high peak almost in the end of December, over 90,000 containers, dipped down so that by early 2022, we saw them decrease. Then they tick back up again, then they decrease, and now they're ticking back up again. All this goes to show that the Port of LA still has a lot of congestion. But let's go look at what Gene identifies as the 3 issues facing the Port of LA right now.
Key factors keeping our volume at all-time highs: demand, fluidity, and data. First, demand. Retail, wholesale, and manufacturing numbers have remained strong. We've seen peak season months for the past 2.5 years. Simply put, unprecedented.
That point by Gene is a very critical one. What he's talking about is the idea that demand has been through the roof. And even in March, which is typically the slowest month coming into US ports, it has been record years for them.
Second, fluidity. Cargo velocity on our marine terminals is better than it was last year. And please remember, there's been no lull in our volume to catch up on the backlog. Yet we've managed to reduce the number of ships waiting at anchor from 109 in January to just 13 today.
Okay, that's a key point that's being made here. And I got to just kind of pull the thread a little bit on that one. So we're seeing that the Port of LA has a tremendous decrease in the number of vessels waiting. It's true. We were at 109 back in November, down to 13 today. That's great. But the problem is those ships have gone somewhere else. It's not that they've cleared the backlog. It's that the ships have gone somewhere else because shippers, those who are hauling the cargo, have opted to move their cargo's ingress into the United States to different ports, particularly ports like Savannah, Houston, and New York, New Jersey. Again, go back to some earlier videos we did where we talk about this. They're loading them on Neo-Panamax vessels that can go through the new lane of the Panama Canal. They're loading them on ultra-large container vessels that can go through the Suez Canal, transload them onto ships in Europe, and then bring them across the Atlantic. And so Gene is worried about, for good reason here, he's losing business because that cargo that was coming into LA is now going to other ports. I don't think talking about fluidity and having your cargo come here because we have capacity at the Port of LA is the accurate thing. I think he wants to bring business back to LA because he's concerned that the Port of LA and Long Beach, which controlled 40% of all the containers coming in the United States, is going to lose business, particularly when the business slows down in the future. His last issue is concerning, concerning data.
Third, factor here is driving volume all around improved data. The Port Optimizer is providing keen insights compared to even just a year ago on segments like inbound cargo flow, dwell times, gate utilization, and so much more. The ability to capture this information and get it out to stakeholders in one portal allows all of us to see around corners and tackle problems before they arise.
Okay, Gene is right. I mean, the Port Optimizer and the data that's collected by LA is fantastic. It's great. They're one of the best at doing that. However, when he makes the next statement, which we already talked about,
thanks to the efforts of so many, the supply chain landscape in Southern California has greatly improved. At many other ports around the country, ships are waiting for space. Yet here, our terminals have capacity. So for cargo owners looking to rechart their course, come to Los Angeles. We're ready to help.
Okay, come to Los Angeles. We're ready to help. I'm not going to take another drink. My floor is soaking wet right here, and I'm not going to lie. It was a spit take for me when I watched that live. So I had to do the video. I think one of the issues we have in the United States is that ports are owned and operated by municipalities and states, and which means they compete against each other. And during the height of the crisis last year, the supply chain crisis, when there were 100-something ships backed off the port, Gene and Mario Cadero over at Long Beach had to be worried about the fact that they were going to lose business, that ships were going to start rerouting, that cargo was going to go. And remember, it's not just a matter of rerouting the ship. That's not the issue. You have to have the warehouses, the infrastructure set up to handle the influx of that cargo. And what Savannah, New York, New Jersey, Houston, Charleston, Virginia, and other ports are doing is sitting there saying, hey, come this way. Boston, other Jacksonville, other ports are making that deal. And everybody's sitting there saying, why am I going to go into LA and Long Beach? I'm going to be jammed up. I can't get my cargo off the terminal. So let's go ahead and go to this other place. So that really just amazes me, the report by Gene Soroka. But again, he is selling the Port of LA, and he does a great job at selling the Port of LA. And let me be clear, this is not a vindictive thing against Port of LA by any means. I don't think so at all. The longshoremen, everyone who works there does a fantastic job, and they deserve business. And I think they will have business. I don't think they're going to lose business. But I think right now, sitting there saying to start diverting into LA and Long Beach, when you still have 13 ships off the port, you still have a pretty good backlog of containers in the terminal. Warehouses are jammed up. I understand why he's saying this. I just found it very amusing because we're not out of the woods yet with this supply chain crisis. And yet here we are, ready to go back to the way things were in a second. So anyway, my hat's off to Gene Soroka and the crew in LA. The whole video is great. I'll have a link to it in the video. Matter of fact, he did a great interview with Matt Schrapp, the head of the Harbor Trucking Association. I was going to talk about it in this video, but I didn't want to get it too long. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so be alerted about new videos when they come out. Leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, share it across social media. And if you can, support the page by hitting that super thanks button below, which allows you to contribute directly to the page, or go on over to Patreon. You'll see the link at the very end of the video. Become a patron of the page. Help me get more water, because I just dumped like half my water out here on the floor, to support the page so I could bring you this type of quality analysis on the announcement by the Port of LA that they're ready for your cargo to come on back to LA, because everything is great in LA. Until our next video, this is Sal signing off.